How can a digital bank focus on SMEs offer support, knowledge, and products to their customers when those customers are operating at a truly global level?
Yeah, one of the interesting phenomenons of the last decade is the emergence of what's often called the micro multinational, which is we have an increasing number of businesses, although they're not big, they're not large multinational corporates, but they're actually very global. One example is that businesses that are importing through very long supply chains, for example, stuff from Asia and then selling it in the UK. So how do you support that? Well, again, there's really two ways of thinking about that. One is you can be a focused challenger that's dedicated to that particular segment, and that segment has very complex needs. Stuff like know your customer and anti-money laundering will often be significantly more complex in an international environment. So one area is to be a focused challenger. For example, you may be focused on e-commerce, which tends to have a very high international component. The other one is basically that if you're a generalist bank and focus on the domestic market, then the question you're faced with is how do you serve those customers who may have probably a small amount of international financing needs or financial services needs. Well, there are ways to do that. The way that we've chosen at Allica is to partner with partners that are very good at international payments. So in other words, we don't think we can be brilliant at everything, therefore you find a partner who is. So yeah, the typical Allica customer is a quite domestic SME, but many SMEs these days, certainly in the UK, increasingly do a bit of international trade, whether it's importing from abroad or indeed they've found a route, for example, through Amazon to sell a bit of their services abroad. So the route we've taken is that we don't think we can be brilliant in international financial services. It's very complex. It has a significant amount of burdens in anti-money laundering, for example. So we've actually taken the route of actually choosing to work with fintech partners who we think are excellent at doing that. So the route that we've chosen to do is basically find a partner who's excellent at something that is not a core capability for you.
So looking at that kind of sort of third-party workaround, how does that work with working with partners abroad? What does that offer to your customers?
Well, if you're trading internationally, the core financial services you have is international payments. Now, if you have a significant amount of money held abroad or in foreign currencies, you may also begin to think about hedging the risk of that. But I would say that most SMEs probably aren't complex or don't have big enough exposures to think about hedging. Hedging is an extraordinarily big deal if you're a large corporate multinational, but not for most of us. So really the need is international payments, which is that you need to be able to, you maybe need to accept payments in an international currency, or certainly you may get paid in your domestic currency, but you need to actually repatriate the funds. So it is, at the risk of saying the obvious, very, very hard to build a global network of payments, and it also is beset with risks around anti-money laundering. So the right approach we've chosen to do is to partner with fintechs, institutions that have a very strong capability in that area.